that the lights, you could see their eyes. You could see, hey, man. That's why the talk today is about, what did I call it? The baboon, the baboon effect. The baboon effect, because see, the people here, if you were to take this area, when I came here, they had just kind of crushed the Islamic Party, and they were down in the islands in different places, and Brother Abdul Haq used to come back every now and then. After a while, he came back, and he would hang here. Uh, in discussing with him, everything that happened to them was things that they didn't understand what was happening to them. Like if they bought a lot of cabs and they had cars parked outside, people would break into them all the time. So that would make them discouraged about the Negro. We're here to help them, and they breaking into all our cabs. And well, when we was over on 8th Street, when we was over here, they used to break in. They was on a roll over there. The reason I leave my cars open right now because I stopped locking the cars because parked on that hill, it was Negroes walking by all the time. Some of them were just Negroes, but some of them were police. And sometime I'd come out the door and I'd see somebody running down the hill at a little house next door we used to work out in. You go down the steps and you look right there. All your weights is right there. Somebody was there to steal your weights. Well, those Negroes wasn't there to steal no weights so they could work out. They were just thieves that wanted to do stuff. That big, thick, nice carpet that we had in the book room over there, that was carpet we had bought for the whole place. But they took it up, and then when we went on a little trip, come back, all that carpet was gone. We had to buy a new. The only part that had left was that part in the bookstore, that nice, thick. You could spill something on it, it won't go in. It's just top of the line carpet. That was what we bought for the whole place. In the meantime, when we came here, I used to meet with the Negroes here sometime, and maybe they didn't understand that I understood where I was. And I would be telling some of them, the ones everybody know, they were from the Southeast. Then they was out in Gaithersburg with the Iranians. They followed them out there. Of course, I would know that they followed the Iranians out there. That was their job. They were Sunnis and they became Shia. A lot of them worked in the Daftar. The Iranians finally got smart and fired all of them, except when I got here, it was 2 still working there. One was Salahuddin and the other was, what's the name that teach Arabic? Hussein. Hussein would clean the toilets and stuff like that. Now, it's no big deal. Like I told in a lecture hall about that time, I said, I would clean toilets in there for free. I said, we do it all the time. All the work, we used to talk a lot, but we did mostly work too. So I said, I would clean them for free, but I wouldn't take no salary. You're going to do the Islamic movement like this. You guys are going to clean the toilets, and we're going to administrate this. I said, oh, no, I wouldn't do that. I said, for free? I cleaned it all around here. I did all, that was a time when technically I did, I remember I was cooking for Eid. and all that good food, I was cooking it on a hot plate. I don't know, a hot plate, man. All that good food. It might take a half a month to do. No, but I cooked all of that on a hot plate. It's all right, but I did it. So one of the guys that used to do all the fancy work, he said, my wife has all these stoves and all that push button stuff. And he was saying that, man, that's really something to prepare all of that food on a hot plate. Well, it had two eyes. I mean, so I mean, and anyway, the point about catching people in the headlights of history is you drive and you hit the bright lights and their eyes, their behavior just lights up. Everybody is who there. That's an animal. You don't want to hit it. You don't want to run over it. So you'll put your life in jeopardy trying to miss, the animal. And in dealing with the Negroes, it was so easy. Well, let me back up. When we came here, we was in the middle of difficulty and ease. We went through most of the real difficulty in California. When we came here, it was Brother Tufel and I used to talk. The stuff that used to happen was like a trifling annoyance. The Quran refers to it as a trifling annoyance. In other words, they would steal this, steal that. If you had your keys to a car you didn't bought, they'd steal that. They would do all this stuff to, for whatever reason they had. A lot of time, maybe they just wanted to wear somebody down. It didn't work then. It's definitely not working now. It ain't even getting close to working. Okay. So let me get back to the main part of the dissertation, because we got to hit the road and go out to the IEC. Trapped in the headlights of history. This movement here, it reminds me of an animal trapped in the headlights. And also the baboon. The baboon walks with his butt up in the air and his big old lips. And to him, this is normal, right? He don't look in a puddle of water and say, man, you got big old lips and you got your butt stick. To him, that's the way he walks. It's normal. That's the same. The reason I use that is because the baboon effect, the effect that we have had on the movement, and it's the baboon effect. It's the headlights of history. Everybody look like baboons. You just look and you said, dog, man, what about, you asked the question, what do they do to y'all? What do they do? I mean, do they have some, or do they scare you? Or this is a big question that you have to think about the movement. Now, I didn't bring it. It was a commentary from the Quran. But it talks about all the people of the past and the things that they went through. But there's something with self-identity also. When you try to put all this together, it comes up like this. Trapped in the headlights of history, that people that they send out to get you is so repetitive, it's so redundant that you could see, it's just all. It don't make no difference what people think. That's what it looks like. It's so repetitive. And then this could have been identified in Jahiliyyah. Because if you're thinking and you get on up there in Jahiliyyah, the stuff that boss man used on you and the dean, he used the same stuff in Jahiliyyah. The COINTEL program was not just for black people, it was for Muslims, it was for movement, anybody that wanted to do anything. White, black, it doesn't make any difference. AIM, the American Indian movement, it didn't make no difference. It was for the human potential movement. This is how you break them down, this is how you destroy them. And we decided to use humor because when we looked at everybody, we had to make an analysis. Why did they stop? And we look at people that we didn't even consult in those days, like Paul Robeson. The movement could have did itself a lot of good by talking with him, because he had went through that whole process. Now, he died in 1976. So by the time he died, he had went through all the psychological mumbo jumbo, and he had evolved. He had changed. They show clips of when he's singing Old Man River, tired of living, afraid of dying, but Old Man River. By the time at the end of his life, he keep on fighting, you know what I mean, and what have you, and he ain't afraid of living, and he ain't scared of dying. But it's time to keep on fighting, that type of thing. They put him in the crazy how they see this thing about being cut off from your people and cut off from the struggle. They eventually, if you're into that, you will begin to self-isolate and all type of stuff. So he chose a let's call it a white concept, communism, which was for workers, which wasn't bad in those days. And our other brother, Hubert Harrison, he died in 1927. They considered he was too black. See, we have to look at all the people. We looked at Dr. King. We looked at Malcolm X. We looked at everybody to see. When we went to Africa, we studied all of what where the Mau Mau's went, where everybody went, what happened to, we was able to forecast what was happening in South Africa because we was all over, and we saw what they're gonna do. Like they was bragging, we're gonna build 5 million homes, in South Africa. And I don't know if anybody heard. I said, "Oh no, you ain't gonna build no 5 million. It ain't gonna work." They were nice little. They'd put a cement slab out, and they would put a nice little 2-bedroom house on it. It would be. They were nice, but they wasn't gonna get no 5 million of them. They would have been lucky if they got 1 million. Because the signs were already there that which way they were headed. We had saw the rest of Africa. We knew South Africa would do better. But Look at South Africa right now. South Africa technically is just like the U.S. South Africa is the only African country I ever went to where, you know, well, not me, but other people, their diet, diarrhea, like going to Mexico, Montezuma's disease, revenge, they call it. You know, my whole family, when they went to Mexico with me, they all was laid up. We was in Mazatlan for a while. They was laid up most of the time. It had no effect on me. Not to change the subject, but when I was going to Machu Picchu, that's 15,000. No, I had left Cusco going to Machu Picchu. Now, traveling at that height, that's about 15,000 feet up.